Hi, MichaelBtheGameGenie here, and I am so freaking excited because today on Game Genie Reviews, we're going to be taking a look at the Attack from Mars Bally-Williams Arcade1Up Pinball. Let's go! That's right guys, today we are reviewing the Attack from Mars Arcade1Up Pinball, and this is a first. Well, this might be the very first consumer review of the Attack from Mars Arcade1Up Pinball table. Personally, this is my very first V-Pin table, and I'm super excited. Of the entire Arcade1Up Pinball library, this is the table that spoke to me the most because it's based on actual pinball tables, and the art is a recreation of the highly desired Attack from Mars. So let's find out how well Arcade1Up did in recreating the arcade pinball experience for the home market. Ever since watching video from CES 2020, there was one thing I wanted more than anything else, and that was the Arcade1Up Bally-Williams Attack from Mars pinball table. So much so that I have spent much of the last year playing Attack from Mars on my Nintendo Switch and other at-home means, waiting for the Arcade1Up table to become available. After over a year of waiting, this newly released at-home virtual pinball now stands majestically in my home arcade. This is in fact my very first virtual pinball table, so the experience is new and exciting to me, so please consider my relative newness to this product when listening to my opinion in this review. As this is my first virtual pinball table, it will also be my first virtual pinball table review, but we will start where we always start when looking at products from Arcade1Up, and that is the design and aesthetics. The first thing I want to mention with the pinball table is that this feels different than the standard arcade product from Arcade1Up. In fact, this feels quite a bit more premium. There is something with the build that just screams solid. It has a heaviness and sturdiness to it that almost makes you forget that this is a toy and not a professional cabinet. Right from the metal legs to the metal frame around the playfield, as well as the solidness of the body and the great build of the back box, this is an engineering marvel. Cool Toy said this in his review, and I can't help but agree that this may be the best product Arcade1Up has ever built. That doesn't even start to talk about how the cabinet looks, and spoiler alert, it's breathtaking. There are so many arcade and pinball enthusiasts that would kill to have an Attack from Mars in their home arcades, but due to its high asking price, it's not something everyone can just add. Arcade1Up have accurately recreated the original cabinet in the 3/4 scale, and honestly, it makes me so happy looking past my arcades and seeing this iconic pin standing there. Let's start with the side artwork, and you will notice the side panels are an accurate recreation of the side panels from the original cabinet and display the iconic Attack from Mars logo and a black planet with war waging on its surface. This art is so cool, and I am so happy to have it displayed in my arcade. You will notice our flipper button on the side has a small circle of protective film around it to protect the art from fading with constant rubbing from players' hands. The protective area is barely noticeable and does not take away from the side art at all. As we move around to the front, you will notice that unlike the other two Arcade1Up pinballs, the art has extended onto the front panel around the faux coin door and again accurately recreates the art on the original cabinet. I love the faux coin door, and what a brilliant way to integrate the on-off switch and control buttons. The plunger panel looks great, and right underneath it is a ball launch button that is a little awkwardly placed, but we will come back to that. Holding up the cabinet is 4 metal pinball legs that feel extremely solid and look great. Sticking with a chrome trim was a smart choice for these legs, as again it blurs the line between real cabinet and at-home toy. Around the playfield on all 3 sides is a metal frame protecting the plexiglass covering the screen. I love that they went real metal here for this border, and it looks amazing. My arcade is in my basement though, and it tends to run a little cold down there, so the metal amplifies that and chills my hands when playing. The plexiglass covering the screen is really high quality, and as console kits said about a Star Wars pinball, the plexiglass is so high quality it can be confused for glass. The playfield screen is actually a nice bit down from the plexiglass itself, and there's a beveled edge leading down to the playfield. Both the distance and the beveled edge add to the illusion that this is more like the real deal than playing pinball on a flat screen. The screen itself is certainly a point of contention amongst fans and reviewers alike, and we will come back to that when we discuss performance and gameplay. The back box has a different shape than the real back box and is more in line with the traditional Arcade1Up top of the cabinet slope design. While the top may be shaped differently, it fits the art from the original table nicely into this new shape and really looks sharp. On the front of the back box we have two 3-inch speakers that pump out some impressive sound and a 7.5 LCD score screen. Above that we have a lit back box panel just like a real pinball table, and this looks awesome. The back box image is sharp and crisp, and the light is displayed so well with even light distribution and no visible hotspots. Unfortunately, a concession had to be made due to the size of the cabinet, and some of the art from the original back box art had to be cropped to fit this image in, but it isn't noticeable if I probably hadn't mentioned it, and certainly doesn't take away from the experience. Yeah, Arcade1Up nailed, and I mean nailed, the look and structural design of this table. This thing looks great and pays appropriate homage to the original Attack from Mars table. So great, this thing looks good as a piece of functional furniture. But let's get to what you guys really want to know about. How does it perform, and are the games fun? Arcade1Up partnered with Zen Studios, who are masters of the virtual pinball craft, to bring the virtual pinball experience home in the 3/4 scale. This means bringing some of the best virtual pinball physics I have experienced in my limited time to these tables, and now the question was, how would Arcade1Up be able to support those games with a complimentary table with all the bells and whistles at their traditionally competitive price point? Many promises were made early on about including solenoids and an accelerometer to add to the virtual pinball illusion, and Arcade1Up delivered on these promises as the table comes included with 4 solenoids and an accelerometer. The solenoids work as a knocker that fire when triggered by specific actions on the table. 2 of the solenoids are found close to your hands and respond to the inputs for the flipper buttons on each side of the cabinet. As you press a flipper, you will hear a knock and feel a slight vibration that is somewhat similar to the feeling you would receive playing a real pinball table. The other 2 solenoids are found towards the back of the display and are triggered by in-game actions when your ball will hit a bumper, and you can hear and feel the knocking in the cabinet. Honestly, I think this is such a cool feature, but I will be honest, I find the feeling very slight on my Attack from Mars cabinet, and wish there was more force to this experience. The accelerometer works for nudging the table, which is a feature I personally have not mastered in virtual pinball, but is something used by individuals who excel at pinball both virtually and in person. You basically have the ability to hit or move the table to change the trajectory of your ball while it's in play to give you an advantage during gameplay. Lower tiered virtual pin offerings offer a nudge button on the sides to accomplish this, but Arcade1Up went all out to provide an authentic experience and included an accelerometer so that the table responds to your movements. Unfortunately, the table is sometimes hard to trigger a nudge, and you have to really force the table to get any action on it, which will be especially difficult for children. Also, I am concerned if the accelerometer ever fails, we then have no way to nudge during gameplay. I wish that Arcade1Up had included both the accelerometer and nudge buttons as a safeguard for those reasons, and hopefully they consider this for future releases. Speaking of safeguards, funny enough, late in development, Arcade1Up decided to include a plunger where they had previously planned on having a launch button. Instead of just one, they included both, which is a super cool feature, as some games on this table, such as Attack from Mars, had a launch button instead of a plunger, and we have the choice to keep it authentic as well as a backup in the event the plunger ever fails. My only complaint is the launch button is in a little bit of an awkward place, but you have to use it so frequently navigating the menu that you will adjust to its placement easily. The plunger itself is actually super responsive, and you can actually see the plunger pull back on screen in tandem with your real life movement. This is only up to a point, as there is a dead zone that has been widely reported and still remains present in this table. The volume toggle can also be found on the faux coin door and works just like the volume function on the Wave 3 and above Arcade1Up cabinets. The only difference is there is no on-screen cue to show the volume level adjustment. The table itself comes loaded with 10 games directly out of the Zen Bally-Williams library based on real tables. This was the experience I most wanted from the Arcade1Up Pinball lineup, as I am recreating an at-home arcade thanks to Arcade1Up, and to add these classic pinball tables in this form was a dream come true. Honestly, these are some of the best pinball tables to ever grace an arcade, and we now have access to them thanks to this machine. I have a lot of experience with playing Zen at home, whether on console or on my PC, and I have to say that the gameplay experience here on this table absolutely measures up. The performance is there as the flippers are just as responsive as the button pushes I am used to making, and the ball moves at a consistent 60 frames per second and does not hinder the stellar Zen physics we all know and love. In fact, the added features we have already discussed bring that experience to the next level. One area of critique these tables have been getting is on their frame rate and the sharpness and contrast of the screen. People have seemed to think that the Williams screen looks a little better than the screen on both the Marble and Star Wars pinballs. I personally don't see much of a difference between the Attack from Mars table screen and the Marble screen, and I really don't think either one of them looks that bad or washed out. I will say there are certainly some concessions made with the graphics to get this game running at 60 frames per second with jagged edges around certain images and a blurriness of fine print on classic pinball tables' small script. Personally, I don't really care all that much about these graphical issues. For me, the gameplay is excellent and fun and still looks good enough for me to enjoy the experience immensely. If you're coming into this with the expectation of a highly detailed playfeel and graphics on par with a high-end gaming PC, you may be disappointed, but if you are looking for a fun experience and aren't as concerned about how detailed the image on screen is, this table will work nicely for you. Honestly, I think it looks just fine. Another area of critique with the screen has been the size of the screen itself, and detractors have said that it would be hard to enjoy pinball on a 24-inch playfield. I personally think it's not the size of the boat, but the motion of the ocean. Just kidding. This of course is my first V-pin table, so I don't have a bigger experience to compare it to, but so far I have found the size to be suitable. One specific thing I have heard people complain about is the ball size on the Star Wars and Marvel tables, and my wife, while playing, said the exact same thing. I am happy to report that the ball is a little bigger on the Williams table and feels more natural on the screen, and my wife apparently also agrees bigger is better. The DMD on the back is such a cool touch as it interacts with what is happening in the game to show special game stages and count your score. An active DMD is a must-have in pinball, and I am so happy to see that Arcade1Up paid proper respect to that aspect here. Unfortunately, just like has been reported with the other tables, only a portion of the DMD is in use. I suppose this was due to maintaining aspect ratio, but honestly I think we all would have been totally cool if it was stretched to fit the whole screen, and hopefully we get an update down the road that allows us to do just that. One personal critique from me is that the table is not Wi-Fi connected, which is detrimental for so many reasons. One is of course that those of us familiar with playing Zen Pinball FX on consoles and PC are used to leaderboards and tournaments, which are such a big part of the Zen experience, and unfortunately that aspect is missing here for us. The next and most simple benefit of Wi-Fi of course goes back to my last point, and updates. I mean, it is just so much easier to push an update through to all connected devices where you can easily correct some of the issues like providing options for resolution output, color and contrast, and stretching the image in the DMD. With those issues out of the way, let's get back to talking about the games because that is really the best part. If you are a fan of bally-williams and classic pinball tables, you will absolutely love this lineup as this is a choice picking some of the very best tables Zen and Williams have to offer. Personally, I'm a very big Attack from Mars fan and spend the majority of my time trying to take down the Martian spaceship. This table plays fast and drains easy, but it keeps bringing me back for more and more. I also can't believe that we are lucky enough that it also includes Medieval Madness, which is also a can't miss top pinball table from the 90s and very well could have been a marquee game on another Arcade1Up table. For those of you that have never played it before, you will love this pinball game as you take down trolls and crash the castle over and over. All the rest of the games are bangers as well, and I want to make sure that I give you a taste of every table the Arcade1Up bally-williams table has to offer. So let me show you some of the quick gameplay from each table.
Payday! Let's
So guys, that's my take on the bally-williams Attack from Mars Arcade1Up Pinball. I've been waiting for this thing for over a year, and now that it's finally in my game room, I have to say it lived up to my expectations. The look and the build quality are phenomenal, and this is some of the best work Arcade1Up has done to date. The gameplay is excellent, and all the extra features such as the solenoids, accelerometer really add to the pinball illusion, make this feel more like the real thing than a toy in your game room. Some people are going to be upset about the resolution, color contrast, and graphic concessions that were made to keep this thing running at 60 frames per second, but honestly, that has not detracted from my overall experience. I'm extremely happy with my purchase. So guys, let me know in the comments, are you interested in picking up an Attack from Mars Arcade1Up Pinball? Anyways guys, I hope you've enjoyed this review. I am so excited I got to share this with you. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time.